They are on. Yeah, I can actually fact check. Let's give some facts. Bezalel Smotrich has said very clearly the hostages are not the priority.
You're not a representative of
the settlements minister.
Hassan.
Can I speak without being interrupted?
Let him speak,
Jonathan.
Jonathan, he
you
was
had a chance for your propaganda.
Jonathan, he was quiet.
I will interrupt you for the next 20 minutes.
Jonathan, he allowed you to speak without interruption. Let Mehdi do the same.
Fine.
You could come back in and lie again in a moment. I'll give the facts to the viewers. The finance minister, Bezalel Smotrich, said very clearly that the hostages are not the priority. Ben-Gvir has said a similar line. Strouk, the settlements minister, said recently, we have to go into every area, even if the hostages die, even if they're unsafe, we have to do it. They have made that very clear. Gallant, the former defense minister, said Netanyahu was sacrificing the hostages.
In today's video, Mehdi Hassan absolutely schools Jonathan Conricus in a heated debate on Piers Morgan Uncensored. Calm yet relentless, Mehdi pressed Conricus on Israel's bombing of civilians, the blockade on Gaza, and the devastating human cost of this war. Every time Conricus tried to spin or deflect, Mehdi fired back with cold hard facts, leaving him cornered and scrambling for answers. Let's dive in and watch how Mehdi Hassan shuts down Jonathan Conricus in this explosive debate on the Piers Morgan Show. And do not speed up the video because I will show you footage from inside Gaza in this video.
The hostages' families went to the homes of the Israeli cabinet just 9 days ago. They protested outside the government's homes and said, you are sacrificing our children on the altar of eternal war. Those are the words of the hostages' families, not the former IDF spokesman, Piers, who you've brought on to lie on behalf of the Israeli military. So many lies he told there in that statement that he just gave this long rant. He doesn't want me to speak now, obviously, because the fact checks will hurt him. Again and again, they have said the hostages are not the priority. And this idea of fringe figures, as you said, Piers, Bezalel Smotrich is the finance minister. He said in May of this year, we are disassembling Gaza. We are turning it into piles of rubble. We are destroying the Gaza Strip. We are there to conquer, cleanse, and remain. Those are the words of Smotrich. By the way, on the same day, Piers, Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister, put out a tweet saying, Bezalel, you have spoken the truth. You show leadership. So this is the entire government. It's not just the entire government. It's the country. A majority of Israelis say they want Palestinians expelled from the Gaza Strip, according to every poll. This is not a fringe view. This is the Israeli government. This is Israeli society. And for Jonathan to say, I'm in the Hamas camp. Come on, Jonathan, get some new lines. I'm not in the Hamas camp. I've never defended Hamas on this show once. Piers knows that. Although you come on this show to defend an Israeli military you were part of and spokesman for. You were part of an Israeli military that's being investigated at the ICJ for genocide. You're part of an Israeli military that was indicted at the International Criminal Court for war crimes and crimes against humanity. You're part of an Israeli military that the International Association of Genocide Scholars have said is a genocide. You're part of a military. You're part of a military that's being investigated by international courts. You're part of a military.
Well, I think, okay, let me jump in.
No, hold on, I'm finishing my point, Piers.
Jonathan, let him finish and I'll come to you.
You're part of a military that has been investigated for sexual violence and rape against Palestinians. Did that happen on your watch? Did you sign off on what the UN says is sexual and gender-based
Let me ask Jonathan a question. Okay, Jonathan.
A military that bombed a hospital last week, Jonathan.
Okay,
your military bombed a hospital.
Let me ask Jonathan an IDF question.
Bombed a hospital.
Let me ask Jonathan.
Only a sociopath would defend that.
All right, let me ask Jonathan a question, which is, as a former IDF man and spokesman, it is reported that behind the closed-door overnight meeting, IDF's Chief of Staff, Major General Ayal Zamir, vehemently opposed a Gaza City takeover, which he has repeatedly warned would endanger the lives of his soldiers and the remaining hostages held by Hamas. That was the Times of Israel reporting that. Are you not concerned as a former IDF man that the guy who's the Chief of Staff of the IDF right now thinks this is a disastrous policy in the making?
Yeah, so this is the first time in the program that we're actually talking something that's grounded somewhere close to facts, not all of the nonsense that Mehdi was spewing out. And by the way, I'll answer the question, Piers, but by the way, Mehdi,
I quoted
let him speak, Mehdi.
Deal with the Smotrich quote.
No, you've been misrepresenting, cherry-picking.
No, don't talk over each other, Mehdi. Let Jonathan
cherry-picking anything.
Let him answer my question.
We conquer, cleanse, and remain in Gaza. No, that's the factual quote.
Right, please let him answer my question.
Which Netanyahu agreed with.
All right, Jonathan, answer my question, please.
Now let's be clear. Israel's government ministers aren't speaking in slips of the tongue. Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich really did say, we are disassembling Gaza, conquer, cleanse, and remain. And Netanyahu openly praised him for it. That isn't fringe rhetoric. That's the ruling coalition's platform. And recent polls inside Israel show over 60% of Israelis support the permanent expulsion of Palestinians from Gaza. That's not exaggeration. That's data from Israel's own research institutes. The reality is that I discovered this is a people who elect Netanyahu because they hate Palestinians and want a greater Israel, meaning they have no problem with killing anyone for the sake of that project. And then there's the international picture. The International Court of Justice has already found Israel guilty of committing genocide in Gaza, ordering provisional measures to prevent further atrocities. Spain has already cut off arms supplies and cooperation with Israel and has announced that it will recognize the state of Palestine in upcoming United Nations meetings. France, too, has taken a different direction with Israel and will also recognize the Palestinian state, along with many other countries worldwide. The International Criminal Court has been investigating Israeli officials for war crimes for years. And it's not just anti-Israel activists saying this. It's global human rights organizations like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, both of which have documented systematic apartheid and war crimes. Even Israel's own military chief has expressed alarm. Just as Mehdi Hassan pointed out, reporting from the Times of Israel confirmed that IDF Chief of Staff Herzi Halevi opposed a full Gaza City takeover, warning it would put soldiers and hostages in greater danger. That's not deflect. It doesn't erase what's already documented. Attacks on hospitals, schools, and refugee camps that killed thousands of civilians. The UN, Doctors Without Borders, and multiple independent journalists have all confirmed these strikes happened. And I will show you a video so you can see for yourselves what Israeli soldiers are actually saying.
My family. Or did you guys kill them too?
Your family is sheep. You is sheep.
My family are sheep? Why are you hiding? Come talk to me. Come talk to me. Why are you hiding?
Your little brother, like your small brother, they kill him, yes. Die.
What about the girls?
He's a baby. He's a baby. He's a baby.
Oh, you kill babies?
Oh, of course. You don't know?
What about the woman?
I tell you, to kill a baby is stuff, okay?
Yes.
Do you plan on killing kids in the future, Palestinian kids?
I want to bomb Gaza. I don't care about the kids. I don't care about the civilians. I don't care about them.
So you'll bomb them? You'll bomb the civilians? And
Yes, I will bomb Gaza. I
Oh,
will
wow.
destroy Gaza.
Wow. There are 1 million kids in Gaza. You want them to die?
I want all Gaza die.
You want half of Gaza are children. You want them to die?
I want to bomb Gaza. I want to make it a mall.
Are you joking, or is this how you actually feel?
No, I'm dead serious.
You are very serious? You want all of Gaza to be gone?
Yes.
You want the 1 million kids in Gaza, the children, the babies, you want them to die?
All the children there will die. I don't care.
Kill Gaza. Kill now. Everything in Gaza, now.
Even the kids?
Yeah, yeah.
The woman?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Kids in Gaza, terrorists.
The kids?
Yeah.
بدي اكل بطني بجعني يا ناس يا مسلمين يا عرب يا عالم انا جوعانه.
أنا إلي 4 أيام أقسم بالله ما أكلت وماني قادر أكف. طلع كيف إيدي برجوا حالي مش قادرين نكف. وابني قاعد بالصيح لي بدي آكل يابا بدي آكل. إله 3 أيام ما ياكلش الولد وأنا إلي 5 أيام ما أكلش. قبل 5 أيام صحنا صحن عدس أعطيته للولد أكله.
صارت الناس تقعد من طولها. مش قادرة الناس مش قادرة. يعني في مريض بيقول أنا بس بدي آخذ حبة الضغط يا جماعة اعطوني بس لقمة. إيش بدك تحكي له هذا الزلمة؟ إيش بدك تحكي له؟ يعني زلمه قد ابويا واكبر بحكي لي بس يا خال اعطيني اكل. طب انا ما جبتش لاولادي. قلت له طب انا من وين اعطيك؟ من وين اعطيك؟ بقول لي بس تاخذ دواء الضغط. انا مش قادر.
الناس بدأوا فقدان القدرة على المشي، فقدان القدرة على الحركة. الناس حركتهم غير طبيعية نتيجة سوء التغذية وما في أشياء أساسية للأكل. الخبز المادة الأساسية للطعام والرئيسية لا توجد في قطاع غزة أو بالكاد تجدها، سواء بسبب الحصار والإغلاقات.
أنا اليوم الصبح من بحر جاية مش قادرة أحكم على طول الطريق.
هذا بتني، هذا بيتاكل، هذا بيتاكل، هذا بيتاكل، هذا يا ناس بدها لما تقطع من أولادها، هذا بيتاكل، يا ناس يا ناس يا ناس ارحمونا يا ناس ارحمونا ارحموا اطفالنا زي ما بتطعموا اولادكم اطعمونا.
يعني الآن المجاعة والتجويع يضرب قطاع غزة بشكل كبير. الفئة الأكثر هشاشة الذين يصابوا بسوء التغذية ويؤثر على حياتهم هم من الأطفال ومن المرضى ومن كبار السن، وخصوصا من هؤلاء الأطفال المرضى الذين يعني تتفاقم حالتهم بشكل كبير بسبب سوء التغذية. إلى الآن سجلنا أكثر من 86 حالة وفاة منذ بداية هذه الأزمة. خلال 36 ساعة تم تسجيل 21 حالة وفاة من سوء التغذية، والأعداد مرشحة لازدياد بشكل كبير.
I'll answer the question. So, Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir is an excellent officer. He's the chief of staff of the IDF, and he's been leading the IDF with quite significant successes against Hezbollah, against the Iranians, and he is leading the IDF in our war, our very just war against Hamas. I'm very happy that there's a debate and that's an ongoing discussion between the military echelon and the democratically elected echelon in Israel. I'm not so happy that it's out in the open, but I am aware that it's happening. And I would say that what I read of the reported statements, which I have from pretty reliable sources they're more or less accurate, maybe not really the tone and the intensity, but a lot of it is accurate. What I read is that the military, very correctly, is asking of the government, what is the end state here? And government, please tell me what you intend for things to happen once we actually go in and fight Hamas and kill them in their tunnels and take out the remaining parts of the leadership and actually get the military part of the job done. And I think that's a very good point made by the IDF, because that is clarity that is needed. And until that is said and stipulated by the government, I think that it's good that the IDF, as a military in a democracy, is telling the elected democratic leadership that, well, I will execute the orders that you give me. Here are the consequences, and I wish for you to tell me what the desired strategic end state is. And that's exactly what a military is supposed to do in combat. And I think that now the ball is in the court of the government, where they will have to stipulate clearly and to a certain extent persuade the military and everybody serving.
Well, again, it's been reported
what exactly the end goal is.
All right, it's been reported again by the Times of Israel that during this 6-hour Israeli Security Cabinet hearing last night, that Netanyahu rejected the general's push to hold a vote over the current ceasefire deal on the table, which could see half of living hostages freed and lay the groundwork for a permanent end to the war. Now, Mehdi, what is also emerging is that there is a belief by Netanyahu that the reason he is being so gung-ho about continuing with this is that President Trump has urged him to finish the war in Gaza with full force. What should we read into that?
Yeah, I think we should read into that Donald Trump is 100% behind Netanyahu, as some of us warned he would be. I think there were some people who thought that there would be some daylight between Trump and Netanyahu, that Trump would somehow be better on Gaza than Biden and Harris were. And that's, as I've told you before, Piers, your pal Donald is full on the ethnic cleansing, the ridiculous Gaza Riviera plan, allegedly involving Tony Blair and Jared Kushner at the White House, outrageous open plans for ethnic cleansing, all signed off on by Donald Trump, who said earlier this year that Palestinians will have to leave Gaza and not come back, which is the definition of ethnic cleansing. That is what Israel and the American government are planning and cooking up for the people of Gaza. It's why the world has now turned belatedly against Israel and on this genocide, because it's so brazen what they're doing in terms of the man-made famine, in terms of the ethnic cleansing, all of this stuff. And, you know, the hostage canard keeps being put forward. Jonathan said earlier, oh, it's a partial deal. Yeah. That's what the Israelis wanted. The great irony is Hamas wanted a permanent deal, all the hostages for an end to the war. Netanyahu said no, partial deal. Hamas agreed to that too, so they keep moving the goalposts because he doesn't want to end the war, Piers. Matthew Miller, Biden's former State Department spokesman, said recently that when he spoke to Netanyahu last year, Netanyahu said openly, we're going to be fighting for decades.
What Mehdi Hasan said about ethnic cleansing is not rhetoric. It is documented. Netanyahu has repeatedly backed ministers like Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, who openly call for the cleansing of Gaza and for preventing Palestinians from ever returning if expelled. Earlier this year, Trump echoed this explicitly, saying Palestinians should leave Gaza and never come back. This is not a defense. It is the very definition of ethnic cleansing. That is why human rights organizations such as Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch have accused Israel of apartheid and forced population transfer. Now let's turn to the so-called hostage deals. Independent reports confirm that Hamas showed willingness to exchange all hostages in return for a permanent ceasefire, after Egypt hosted a Hamas delegation and pressured them, as I explained in the previous video. Yet Netanyahu rejected the offer, even against the wishes of the hostages' families themselves. Absurdly, Trump later claimed that he was proposing a new deal to end the war, as if the Egyptian talks had never happened, and as if Netanyahu had not already refused to respond after Hamas agreed. Hamas immediately replied that a proposal was already on the table, reaffirming that it had accepted it in Egypt. The only side that failed to engage was Netanyahu. So why this deception? Quite simply, Trump is trying to mislead audiences who only learn about the Middle East through Western media. The aim is to paint Netanyahu as a saint, when in reality he does not want the war to end. He wants Palestinians expelled from Gaza so Israel can seize the territory through occupation. Reports even indicate Netanyahu told U.S. officials he expects Israel to fight in Gaza for years, even decades. Meanwhile, famine and disease are being deliberately weaponized. The United Nations and the World Food Program have warned that Israel's blockade has created the worst humanitarian crisis in decades, with children starving to death. This is not collateral damage, it is policy. And today, guess what happened? Israel attempted to assassinate the Hamas delegation in Qatar, the very delegation that had agreed to the proposal and wanted to end the war. Israel tried to kill them with a missile launched from a plane, all of course with prior knowledge from the United States. This attack targeted Hamas leaders as well as the Qatari mediators. White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt stated that the U.S. military had been informed of the operation shortly before it was carried out, but she did not issue a direct condemnation of Israel. She affirmed the United States' support for Qatar and its right to protect its security and sovereignty. Meanwhile, Qatar's foreign ministry spokesperson Majed al-Ansari said his country had not been notified about the Israeli strike before it hit Doha, and that the American official only told them about the strike while it was happening. As you can see, these statements are utterly absurd. I think if they had simply used WhatsApp, the message would have arrived in just 3 seconds. Clearly, the script was written by the director of this film. I won't go into all the scenarios, but for your knowledge, the US has the largest military base in the Middle East, and it's located in Qatar. So America absolutely knew about the strike, saw the plane enter Qatari airspace, and it's not unlikely that the aircraft even took off from inside the American base in Qatar itself. The point is this: Netanyahu and Trump claim they want to end the war, but in reality, they are doing the opposite. They are trying to assassinate the Hamas delegation precisely because we are only days away from serious steps toward ending the war, and just before the upcoming UN General Assembly session. This is crucial because if the war does not stop before that session, most of the world's countries will recognize the state of Palestine, and discussions will begin about creating a Palestinian state. But Israel and Trump do not want the war to end, nor do they want a Palestinian state. They want to occupy Gaza's land regardless of the world's opinion, and they don't care how many victims fall as a result of their ambitions.
Oh my God.
This is an absolutely extraordinary moment that we are witnessing right now. A very large plume of smoke above the Qatari capital of Doha, and paired with that, an Israeli military statement saying that they have, quote, conducted a precise strike targeting the senior leadership of the Hamas organization, end quote. I have just gotten off the phone with an Israeli official who confirmed to me that that statement is indeed about that very same blast in Doha, meaning that the Israeli military, not even Israel's intelligence service, but its military, actually conducted a strike in Qatar targeting Hamas's leadership. Doha, the Qatari capital, is where several senior Hamas leaders are currently based and have been based throughout much of this war in Gaza, namely Hamas's leader, Khalil al-Hayya. Khalil al-Hayya has been not only Hamas's leader in the wake of the killing of Yahya Sinwar, but he has also been the chief negotiator, engaged not only through the mediators, but also at times with U.S. officials in negotiations over the future of the war in Gaza. It's unclear as of now what the results of this strike were, whether or not Hamas's leadership in Doha.
He wants this war to continue for his own reasons, for the ideological reasons of his cabinet allies. And the military, the Israeli military has now come to its senses saying, this is not helping. This is the same Israeli military that has committed multiple war crimes. I mean, Jonathan talked earlier about, what the purpose of combat is. He said he was a proud IDF man. He's proudly part of a military that last week bombed a hospital not once, but twice. A double tap strike, according to CNN, triple tap strike, killing emergency responders, journalists, aid workers in front of our eyes. That is his glorious military. It's an Israeli military which, according to Nick Maynard, Piers, who you know, British doctor, I interviewed him last month, he said he treated Palestinian teenagers in his hospital in Gaza over the summer who were shot in the testicles, multiple children shot in the testicles by Jonathan's military, the same military that killed 15 paramedics in April and then just buried them with their ambulances in the sand. They were buried in the sand by the Israeli military in April. They lied, the Israelis. They said, the lights were off. We didn't know who they were. Hamas were firing. Turned out all to be a lie. You know what the Israelis did, Piers? They fired the deputy commander. That's it. Nobody went to prison. No one was charged. They murdered 15 people. That's the military that Jonathan's come to defend. The most immoral military right now in the world that is bombing hospitals in front of our eyes.
Jonathan?
Yeah, it's it's various levels of ridiculous. But listen, Mehdi, there's been a job opening. Israel finally got rid of Abu Ubaidah, a very prolific and well-to-do Hamas spokesperson.
You've really got to get better with your Hamas propaganda. You're
mind your
racist,
language, small man.
Genocidal,
mind your language,
war criminal.
Small man.
You support
mind
war
your
criminals.
Language, little
well, you're trying to put a target on me?
Mehdi,
Are you and Elon Levy trying to put a target on me? Are you trying to put a target on me? You keep saying I'm Hamas, and you support killing Hamas.
You've done it
so
with Elon, and it won't work with me. Little Mehdi. Little Mehdi, you've done that shtick with Elon. It doesn't impress me. But I'm telling you is that if you improve your Arabic just a bit,
you keep saying I'm Hamas based on nothing.
If you improve your Arabic just a bit, I think you are well on track to become a very prolific spokesperson for Hamas.
Your troops engaged in sexual violence against Palestinian women.
Abu Ubaidah.
You're being investigated in the International Criminal Court.
Independent investigations, not just from Palestinian sources, but from groups like Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and the UN Human Rights Council, have documented repeated Israeli double-tap and triple-tap strikes. These aren't accidents. They are deliberate tactics where the IDF bombs a target, waits for medics and journalists to arrive, and then bombs them again. That's how you end up with piles of dead paramedics and reporters like we saw earlier this year in Gaza. That's a textbook war crime under international law. And Mehdi Hassan's point about teenagers being shot in the groin, sadly, there's evidence for that too. Doctors Without Borders has treated dozens of children in Gaza who were hit in what can only be described as punitive targeting. This isn't random crossfire. The wounds tell you the shooters knew exactly what they were doing. Then there's the issue of accountability, or the lack of it. When IDF soldiers killed 15 paramedics and buried them with their ambulance back in April, what happened? One deputy commander was quietly dismissed. That's it. No trial, no prison sentence, no real justice. Imagine if any other military buried aid workers alive with their vehicles. The world would call it barbarism. With Israel, it's just brushed aside as fog of war. And the biggest point here, Jonathan's military is currently under investigation at the International Criminal Court for war crimes and crimes against humanity. Israel is also being examined at the International Court of Justice for genocide. That's not hyperbole. Those are ongoing international legal cases backed by mountains of evidence. Are you getting tired of getting half the story from biased news sources? One outlet says one thing and another says the complete opposite. How are you supposed to know what's actually true? That's where my channel comes in. It lets you compare how different media outlets, left, right, and center, are covering the same story, so you can see the full picture instead of just the echo chamber. And here's the best part. Click the subscribe button to be member in my channel, which gives you even deeper insights into media bias and political trends. And I invite you to watch the previous episodes and wait for the upcoming ones. Stay informed, think for yourself, and check out my channel. See you.